The first time Maya met the sea, she was 7 years old, and it roared. It wasn't the postcard blue Mediterranean of her storybooks. This was the North Atlantic in November, a churning, iron-gray beast that hurled itself against the cliffs of her grandmother's Irish village. The wind stole her breath. The salt spray stung her cheeks like tiny needles. She clung to her grandmother's wool coat, not in fear, but in a kind of awe. This was a feeling too big for her small body. It was the first time she understood that beauty could be terrifying. "It has a heartbeat, you know," her grandmother said, her voice carried away on the gale. Maya listened, and beneath the crash and boom, she heard it, a deep, rhythmic sigh as the water pulled back over the stones. Asterisk wish thump. Wish thump, asterisk. That heartbeat became the rhythm of her childhood summers. She learned the sea's many moods, the sullen, misty calm, the cheerful morning sparkle, the furious, slate-gray tantrums. Her grandmother taught her to read the clouds, to smell the storm on the wind. "The sea gives," she'd say, mending nets with swift, sure fingers, "but it only lends. Never forget it owns everything it holds." When Maya was 16, the sea took. A summer squall, sudden and vicious, caught her grandfather's small fishing boat. The heartbeat became a deafening roar, and the lending became a claiming. The funeral was held on the cliff top. Maya didn't cry. She stood rigid, staring at the horizon where the water met a seamless, indifferent sky. The salt on her lips was from the spray, she told herself. Not tears. Never tears. She turned her back on the village, on the heartbeat. She moved to a city 1,000 miles inland, a place of concrete, glass, and silent, humming wires. She built a life of quiet order, a tidy apartment, a logical job, relationships that were pleasant and surface level. She dated a nice man named Leo who loved spreadsheets and hated unpredictability. He found her calm steady. He never knew her calm was not peace, but a deep freeze. For 20 years, she succeeded. The memory of the sea was packed away like a dangerous, obsolete relic. Then, Leo left. Not dramatically, but logically. "We want different things," he said, his voice kind. "You're walled off, Maya. I feel like I'm living with a beautiful, silent fortress." The words didn't hurt. That was the problem. They just were. After he drove away, she stood in the sterile silence of her apartment. The central air whirred. A faucet dripped. It was the quietest sound she had ever heard, and it was unbearable. That night, she dreamt of the heartbeat. Asterisk wish thump. Whoosh thump. Asterisk it was so loud it vibrated in her bones. She didn't decide. Her body decided for her. She packed a single bag, got in her car, and drove. For 2 days, through motorways and then winding country roads, until the air changed, growing thick and damp and tasting of iodine and forgotten things. She arrived at the cottage as dusk bled into the cliffs. It was smaller, shabbier. The village was quieter. She stood on the edge, where the grass gave way to sheer rock. Below, the North Atlantic churned, the same iron-gray, eternal beast. She felt nothing. No awe, no fear, no grief. Just a vast, hollow exhaustion. The fortress had held, and it was empty. A gust of wind, sharper than the others, slammed into her. It knocked her off balance, not physically, but deep inside. A sound escaped her, a small, broken thing, lost in the wind. Then another. And then, the dam broke. It wasn't pretty crying. It was a raw animal sound, torn from a place she thought had petrified. She wept for her grandfather, his laugh lost to the deep. She wept for her grandmother, who had died in a city bed years before, whispering about the sound of gulls. She wept for the lonely, walled-off years, for Leo who had loved a ghost, for the 7-year-old girl who had felt everything so fiercely it scared her into silence. She sank to her knees on the wet grass, sobbing until her throat was raw, until the tears were spent. The great, terrible sea roared on, utterly indifferent to her human pain. And then, in the hollowed-out quiet after the storm within, she heard it again. Whoosh thump. Whoosh thump. The heartbeat. It wasn't a comfort. It wasn't a greeting. It was just a fact, immense and enduring. It had been here before her pain, and it would be hereafter. Her grief was a wave, crashing and receding. But the sea was. Slowly she stood. Her legs were shaky, her face burned with salt and wind. She looked at the raging, beautiful, terrible expanse. For the first time in decades, she didn't feel the need to build a wall against it. She didn't need to be its master or its victim. She was just Maya, small and temporary, standing before something ancient and everlasting. And in that vast, unequal scale, she found a strange, aching freedom. The sea had taken. It had given. It had lent her this moment, this heartbeat. She took a deep, shuddering breath, the air filling the new, raw spaces inside her. The wind dried her tears as fast as they fell. She didn't smile. But she unclenched her hands and let the wild, salt-heavy air rush through her open fingers.